Hey, shalom, everybody. I pray the Most High is blessing each and every one of you. I pray that the Son, Christ, is blessing you, being that intermediary between you and the Most High and the Father. All praises. Hey, just want to make sure that I have no issues. You can hear, you can see. I see Solomon in the building. Solomon, shalom. Yona, Amita, Nicole, Eleazar, Joshua, Aliyah, Elena. Hey, I see each and every one of y'all. Make sure y'all hit the share button, get it on your wall, your timeline. Share it in the direct message. Get your couple of friends in, because we're talking about something that really makes a difference in your lives. We're talking about something that really can affect you, and you can start beginning to make these changes right now, if you're willing, if you're able, if you care enough to do so. So, Midweek Meditations, we're here every week. We're a little late today, just a little bit, just a few moments after the time. Normally, you would see my face at the 5:30 mark, but hey, sometimes things happen, so I appreciate your patience and for you guys to be able to come and visit with me every week and share this meditation with me. That means a lot to me. So shout out to you who are diligent, who are constantly here, who are loyal subscribers. All praises to the Most High. Hey, I see Elijah tuning in. Also, Elijah, shalom, my brother. I pray all is going well. I pray the civil unrest isn't affecting you too badly, that the Most High is putting that hedge of protection around you. Hey, so we're going to get started in just a minute, but today's topic is marriage creates nations. Still going with the theme of why did I get married? Now, I know some of y'all, you didn't catch the original why did I get married lesson, meditation, but you got to go back and catch it, because we went back and recapped that. And then we started talking about a few more things in marriage, and the topic has been steady and consistent about marriage, and it's very important to talk about. Somebody might be saying, oh, we're talking about marriage again. Yeah, but you're still married, aren't you? So we still need to talk about it. For the most of you, you may be wanting to get married. You may already be married. You may have gone through a situation where you're no longer married. So marriage is something that everyone needs to talk about and everyone needs to hear about, because it's so widespread of a topic and it affects so many different people. So all praises to the Most High again for having you guys here. Shout out to those who have been helping me put on this Midweek Meditation platform. And I want each of y'all to be thankful for those who have been helping, but also wish them a good time while they're on their little vacation and break from helping me. I told them, just take a break, relax, do some of the other work that you got going on. Let me put all the effort into this for this moment, and we'll come back and revisit on some of the things that you guys may be missing. You may be wondering, where's the Bible Trivia Tuesday? You may be wondering, where's the daily verses? But I bet a lot of you haven't even gone back and done the previous. So this is a time for us to go back and revisit some of the things that we've already talked about, because the one thing that is true in life is we have to practice. We have to keep going over in a repetitious fashion the things that we want to improve on. So it doesn't make any sense to keep giving you a new idea after week, but you still haven't perfected the old things. So the challenge is for everybody to start going back. Take about two meditations throughout your week and catch up on something that you didn't see before. And then when you get that new one on Wednesday, we're still moving forward. But the idea is that you make continual application. You continue to improve. You continue to apply. And if you look back at some of the old things, you probably missed something that you need for right now in the moment that you're in today. All right. So, marriage creates nations. Part of the Why Did I Get Married series, right? Marriage creates nations. So we're going to get into it today. Now, when we get into it, I want y'all to have the right mindset. I want y'all to really think about the benefit and the value of marriage. As we went into previous lessons, why did I get married? The question was, what was your real reason? What was your why? You could have stayed single. You could have chose to never actually join with somebody, but you did. So why? You have to have a good reason why, because marriage ain't easy. There's trouble in the flesh, as we talked about last week. And if you're going to go through all of that trouble, there must be enough benefit, enough value that outweighs the trouble that would make you go through such a thing. Such a thing, yes, I said it like that because each of you know sometimes marriage can be a bit much. Sometimes marriage can be something that puts a lot of stress on you, and you really consider and contemplate, maybe I shouldn't stay married. But God said you have to stay married if you're really trying to be righteous. So now the challenge is for us to make sure that we go through things in the Bible that will help us preserve our marriage and create happy marriages, create healthy marriages, and promote the idea of continuing to get married to our children, which is somewhat becoming a dying trend. People don't really want to get married. Not according to how God said that we should get married. So let's get into it. Let's start with Genesis chapter 2, verse 20. Now, the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 20. I'm looking at the comments. And Eleazar said, keep our lineage going when we die, multiply and be fruitful. I like what you're saying, Eleazar. I want you to hold on to that thought as we go through today's lesson. And also, if anyone has not done it yet, hit the share button. Matter of fact, before we get started, I'm going to hit the share button on my end and make sure that I'm not asking you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. So I have just shared it with 20, let's see if I get to 25 people. And now I'm going to get started in the verse, Genesis chapter 2 and verse 20. And Adam gave names to all the cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not an helpmeet for him. So Adam was doing all of these great things. He gave names to all the cattle. Cattle was running around, didn't have no names. Nobody could identify. Nobody knew what it was. Adam said, don't worry. I got it. I'm the man for the job. I will give names to all the cattle, all the fowl of the air, to every beast of the field. Don't worry. I'll put the name on there. I will label these. I will make sure that we all have something that we can commonly call these things. But for Adam, contrary to what just went on, but for Adam, there was not a helpmeet found for him. So there were all of these different animals, but there was no wife for Adam. There was not a helpmeet for Adam. He needed help. That's what we're trying to get out of this. As great a work as he is doing, as much responsibility has been bestowed upon him and his effectiveness in doing so, it was understood that Adam did not have help, which means he didn't have a person that could help him be even greater than he already was. Let's not get it twisted. He already was doing a great work. The Lord had already put certain responsibilities upon him. But in acknowledging and understanding that there was not a helpmeet for him, that meant that there was greater meant for Adam. But in order for Adam to achieve greater, he needed a helpmeet. So what is that telling you, brothers? What is that telling you, sisters? That there's a value that a woman is supposed to bring to the table. But in order for a man to have this continuous right to that value, we're going to learn more that there must be a spiritual union. See, people come and go in your life, and they bring value here or there. And they may be a one-time value add to your life. They may be a 5-time, a 10-time. But one thing that is for certain, that value is not guaranteed to you. It may not last for very long, and you may not get exactly what you intended out of it. As you try to get the value, you may find that people will cheat you. You may find that people will lie to you. You may find that people will not live up to the standard that you had set. But when it comes to the helpmeet, you should expect a certain value. When it comes to the helpmeet, that value is yours to the end. When it comes to the helpmeet. Because as we read on in verse 21, it says, "And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs, and he closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man." So the value that you receive from that helpmeet is yours because it came from you in the first place. This is the missing piece that completes you. So you are doing a great work yourself, Adam, but you are not 100% complete right now. So you could be doing better if you were complete. And Adam understood that when he received this woman, this helpmeet, he received the missing piece to himself. But let's make sure we understand it. She was created to be his helpmeet. She was pulled from his flesh, bone of his bone. And that's where the word woman is even coming from, is the fact that she was taken out of man. So, in order to receive that value, the thing bringing the greatest value is of yourself. Not someone that is not really a part of you. Not someone that is really not meant to be joined with you. Not someone that has their own separate self. So, this value that a woman is supposed to bring cannot be taken lightly. It can't be let go someday. This is that value that is to the end, till death do you part, in a sense, because it is you. Now, in order to receive this value, there's an arrangement that is to be made to transfer that value from one place to the other, because as a woman, before she comes into the marriage and brings that value, she has had to learn to be valuable somewhere else. So we read on, it says, "Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." So that value is where? That value from that woman comes from the mother and father's house, and is departing from that house, and now is becoming a part of your house, young man, as you want to get married, right? It says, "Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." So the value that you were bringing in your parents' house now is coming forward and going into your house. And you bring her value, and you bring his value, and you come together and you have a perfect value in the long run. That's what the goal is that your coming together brings forth that completion of value. But these are words that I'm using. Value is a word I'm using here. We'll continue on and see how God really illustrates these things. But we understood that it was helpmeet, meaning someone that was a good help for him. So, let's read on in Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. See, today's topic is marriage creates nations. So you got to ride with me for a minute. You got to bear with me, and we got to see where this is going. Marriage creates nations. Genesis 4:1. And Adam knew Eve, his wife. Now, let's stop for a second. Adam knew Eve, his wife. Adam and Eve have come joined together. She has come forward and been created as flesh of his flesh, bone of his bones, as his helpmeet. Wife, if you will, as we read in the previous chapter 2. That was what she became, his wife. So in becoming his wife, in her becoming his wife and him becoming her husband, they were allowed to do something now. They were allowed to conceive. Because we know, as the scriptures say, and where is it? Hebrews, marriage is honorable, right? Hebrews 13:4. Marriage is honorable. But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge, right? This gave Adam and Eve the ability to have sex, to conceive a child, and not only conceive a child, but to conceive multiple children. And she conceived and bare Cain and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. The Lord blessed their union and gave them a child after they came together and helped each other out. And she bare again, and she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. Let's stop there. The expansion of a family now is being created here. The expansion of a union between a man and a woman is now creating a family. See, you went from just man. Then you went from man and woman who come join together and become husband and wife, who leave father and mother and cleave unto themselves. But now you have the conception. Now you have the bearing of children. Now you have the creation of family. Now, why was the family created? Let's go to Genesis 1:28. Genesis 1:28. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over everything that moveth upon the earth. Now be mindful that we already read in Genesis 2 that dominion enabled Adam to be able to name all of the animals. See, part of having dominion, and we got to understand what dominion is perhaps, is having the authority to make something happen. Having the control, having the sovereignty over something. So it says, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. That was what God commanded that man and woman do, is to come together, be fruitful and multiply, to create children, to be able to take from the creation of children, to be able to increase your ability to subdue the earth as you replenish it, and to increase your ability to have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Why was the family created? The family was created so that we could be fruitful. The family was created so we could replenish the earth, to fill the earth up. And then after we filled it up, to subdue the earth and to have dominion over the earth. Because one cannot do that all by himself. When God said, but there was not a help for him, the job was big and it could not be done alone. And not only could it not be done without a wife, but it could not be done without increasing the amount of people that were able to do the work as well. The children, the children's children, etc. You need multiple people in position to handle a job as big as God gave to Adam. Why was the family created? Let's go to Ecclesiastes 4 and 9. Ecclesiastes chapter 4 and verse 9. Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. See, why was the family created? Why was the wife joined unto the husband? Why did the husband and wife then be fruitful and multiply? Because two are better than one. Two are better than one. You will have a good reward for your labor when you have two as opposed to just one. See, a lot of people think that they are good by themselves, but when they have the right woman with them, they should be made better. When you bring forth the right profitable children, you should be better than you were without them. Two is better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor, meaning there's an expectation that there will be labor. There's an expectation that there's work to be done, and the only way to get that work done is if you have enough people to satisfy that work and different divisions of that labor. It won't be that everybody's doing the same job. But the job that one does enables the other to do their job better. And it is reciprocally, mutually beneficial. It says, for if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. If a husband falls, the wife can help lift up. If a child falls, the parent can help lift up. If a parent falls, the child can help lift up. The cousin, the aunt, the uncle. Once you start to create family, you start to create support systems. See, Adam didn't have a support system initially. That's why he needed that helpmeet, which then gave him a support system. So it says, for if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow, but woe unto him that is alone when he falleth. Woe unto Adam had he had fallen without a support system, without a helpmeet, without family. But woe unto him that is alone when he falleth, for he have not another to help him up. Again, if two lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone? If one prevail against him, two shall withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. Showing you that as we continue to add more to the mix. See, two is good. One is pretty good. Two is better. But three is even better than that, and so forth and so on. See, why was the family created? The family was created because individually there may have been many flaws within us. But together we could overcome those things. See, let's get some examples of that. Let's go to Numbers chapter 30, verse 8. But if her husband disallowed her on the day that he heard it, what is the it? Contextually, we're speaking here about a woman being able to vow unto the Lord. And if she was in her father's house, her father could disallow that vow to prevent her from saying something foolish. And then, in like manner, the husband could do the same thing once husband and wife cleaved unto one another. It says, but if her husband disallow her on the day that he heard it. If he disallow the vow that she made, which is a good thing. See, a lot of women are going to be upset. How dare my husband disallow anything I do? Woman, I just want to inform you that that is a benefit that God gave you that you're fortunate to have. That someone can disallow your vow and prevent you from saying something stupid, because the widow don't have that. The single woman don't have that. When she don't have a hedge of protection about her. The man don't have that. If he say something stupid, he just locked in. So it says, but if a husband disallow her on the day that he heard it, then he shall make her vow which she vowed, and that which she uttereth with her lips, wherewith she bound her soul, of none effect, and the Lord shall forgive her. See, by having a husband, sisters, the Lord will forgive you for some of the stuff that you may have said that you should not have. But every vow of a widow but
every vow of a widow and of her that is divorced, wherewith they have bound their souls, shall stand against her. Widows don't got that protection. Divorced women don't have that protection. Whatever they say, the Lord just going to have to judge them for it. And you know every idle word. The Lord know your thoughts. People be talking about, God know my heart. Well, I feel bad for you because he does know your heart. And since your heart is desperately wicked, you wish you had somebody to stand in front of that bullet for you. And if she vowed in her husband's house or bound her soul by a bond with an oath, and her husband heard it and held his peace in her, and disallowed her not, then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she shall bound her soul shall stand. So there's a benefit, right? Two is better than one. It's good that you got somebody next to you that can, give you some forgiveness that you might not have been able to receive on your own. Let's get another example, because that was the benefit of a man to a woman. But what's the benefit of a woman to a man? 1 Peter 3:1. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands. But if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives. See, brothers, you are fortunate to have a wife that can win you over with her conversation, if it be a godly conversation. See, some of you brothers, trouble in the flesh brothers, right? You might have a wife that all she know about is the reality TV show. That's her conversation. You might have a wife who she can only talk noise, cuss you out, murmur, sow discord, gossip, or something like that. But if you got a wife that is in subjection, and she has chaste conversation, verse 2, coupled with fear, that she might be able to save you from some situations because she was able to convince you to win you over by that good conversation. Verse 7 says, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life. See, two are better than one because they can come together for the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. If you come together and you agree on these prayers, they won't be hindered, because God loves when a husband and a wife agree together. That's in the Apocrypha right there, right? Who knows where that is? Let's find that real quick. That's Sirach 25:1. I gave you your time. Hopefully you caught it. But if you didn't, that's okay. I'm already there. So Sirach 25:1 says, in three things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men, the unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, a man and a wife that agree together. See, that's something that God loves. God loves a man and a wife that agree together. God loves that. But see, some people are not really ready to hear that. See, some wives love to be disagreeable with their husband. Some wives, no matter what he says, she got to argue. Some husbands, you like to disagree as well. Some people feel like the disagreement is what makes their love go round, but God don't like that. Back to Ecclesiastes. It says, verse 12, and if one prevail against him, two shall withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. As you continue to build up the family dynamic, you continue to strengthen the people within that family. That's what marriage is all about, is a starting point to strengthen us as individuals. A starting point to strengthen us as individuals. I got to repeat it, a starting point. Because you were single, you were pretty good. Brother had it going on in certain ways. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you actually had nothing going on. Whichever the case may be, there's room for improvement. So now you get married to a sister that might have had it going on, or to a sister who did not have anything going for her. But nonetheless, this is a starting point to where you can both improve each other. But when you get the children, you see some of y'all, you didn't do better in your life until you first started having children, and you realize, if you're not going to do it for yourself, you got to do it for them. So now your 3-strand cord is getting stronger. And now that baby who is completely reliant on you grows into becoming a helpful person within the household. That cord is getting stronger. That's the type of thing that gets built up through marriage. Why did you get married? The reason why you should be getting married. Why did Adam get married? Because he couldn't do it alone. He was good by himself, but he needed someone to make him better. Now, everybody knows Eve for making the fatal flaw. But we really got to make sure that we consider Eve also for the fact that Adam did not have a helpmeet and then he gained one. So there had to be some value that came in there. Genesis 46 and 26. So we're fast forwarding a little bit in the timeline of Genesis. We went from Adam and Eve, but we got to get all the way up to other parts of the family that descend, right? Genesis 46 and 26. All the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt, which came out of his loins, besides Jacob's sons' wives, all the souls were 66. So now we're talking about all the people that descended from the loins of Jacob, who came into Egypt. Now we're going to go to Exodus 1 and 5. Get a little bit more on that. Exodus chapter 1 verse 5. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation, and the children of Israel were fruitful. I think we read something about being fruitful a little earlier. And increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. We got to go back a little bit. We got to go back. Genesis 1:28. And God blessed them and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply. That was the commandment that was given. Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. That was the commandment. And that commandment was passed down through the chosen lineage and seed, right? So as we go back to Exodus 1 and 5. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already, and Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful. They were fruitful. The people that descend from the children, or the man named Israel, were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied. They were fruitful and multiplied, and waxed exceedingly mighty. That meant they were getting to the point of being able to subdue, and the land was filled with them. Okay. Now we got to define fruitful. Shout out to Uzziah. He brought down a class about being fruitful, and he brought out this definition, and I want to use this definition as well, because it is very good for this Bible verse. It's very good. When something is fruitful, it is productive. But you don't have to produce fruit in order to be fruitful. You could have a fruitful trip to the mall if you came home with a slew of snappy new outfits. There's a famous line from the Bible, be fruitful and multiply. We just read it. That gives you a pretty good sense of the word fruitful activity multiplies or adds to what's already there. So Joseph, the sons of Joseph, the sons of Israel, the sons of Jacob, were adding to something that was already there. There were already people there, but they were being fruitful in their own right and adding to something that was already there. A couple is fruitful if they have children. A husband and a wife are fruitful when they have children. We're defining this. Let's see. What's the name of this dictionary? Vocabulary.com. That's where you can find this definition of fruitful. There's a couple is fruitful if they have children. The more children, the more fruitful. So Adam and Eve, they bore Cain, Abel. They were fruitful, and they bore more than that. If you look at the history, look at the other children that Adam and Eve had. But now we're up into the point of the sons of Israel, of Jacob. And now we got 12 sons. That is fruitful as well. That is more fruitful than 2. An artist is fruitful if they create a lot of artwork. A business is fruitful if they create profits and expand. Anything fruitful is productive. It grows and produces much like a fruit tree. So, and the children of Israel were fruitful. They grew like a fruit tree. They were productive. They were multiplying. It said increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them. Okay. So why were the children of Israel fruitful? Why were the children of Israel fruitful? What enabled them to be fruitful? Let's ask it like that. Because obviously they were fruitful because a mother and a father had children. But when we really look back at the things that we've said so far, what made them fruitful? Genesis 45 and verse 7. This is Midweek Meditations. This is what we've been meditating. This is what I have been meditating on because it's time to really think about marriage and think about the things that you need to get out of marriage and find a way to be better married than you were single. See, all praises to the Most High. When you have the helpmeet, you get to be a little bit more productive is what the goal is what we're understanding here. And we're going to read here some of that productivity. See? My helpmeet just helped me and brought me some water. Now I'm going to be a little more productive in this class. Y'all thought I was, getting a little dry mouth in the conversation. Now it's about to come out. And God sent me. This is Genesis 45 and 7. And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. What are we talking about here? Y'all know I can't read the entire Bible for you, so I have to give you context and not read every verse. Joseph, your forefather, many of our forefathers and some of our foreuncle and, whatever, he was in Egypt, and even though he went in there on bad terms because his brothers sold him into slavery or tried to, they wanted to kill him, and they wanted to do something evil to him, Joseph is noticing that evil thing that happened, it was really God sending him there to preserve his own family and to save the lives of his family by great deliverance. Verse 8, so now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. And he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and a lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. So, knowing the history of Joseph, you got to go read it for yourself if you don't know what I'm talking about. Joseph is one of the sons of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. Joseph, being that he was a favorite son, created envy and jealousy amongst his brethren, in which they sold him into, or attempted to sell him into slavery. But in doing so, they really did lose their brother, but they thought that he really was gone, and God had a plan. God's plan was that a young man would be able to deliver his whole family in a time of issue, in a time of posterity in the earth. A great deliverance had to be made. So now, we go to verse 10. And thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen, and thou shalt be near unto me, and thou and thy children and thy children's children, and thy flocks and thy herds and all that thou hast. So the entire family was being preserved by Joseph. The children, the children's children, even the flocks and the herds and everything that they had, they were able to maintain possessions based on the fact that they had a family member who was able to lift them up in a time where they were falling. Go to verse 47, chapter 47, Genesis 47, verse 11. And Joseph placed his father and his brethren and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph nourished his father and his brethren and all his father's household with bread according to their families. Now I find this very important to speak on, because we've been talking. We've been having a little conversation, right, guys? You've been listening to my meditation, right? And in the meditation, I'm letting you know that when family comes together, a husband and wife, they help each other out. When you have children, you help each other out. You help the children grow up and be nourished, but then the children eventually are helpful too. And this is what's happening with Joseph. Joseph is showing you what that three-strand cord is all about. You had his mother and father. They were strong, but now it's getting to the point where they can't really take care of the kids. And they can't take care of the kids' kids. But now you got old Uncle Joseph, who can be a helper to his brother's children. Now you got son Joseph, who can be helpful to his parents. Now you got brother Joseph, who can be helpful to his brothers and sisters. Verse 12 said, and Joseph nourished his father and his brethren and all his father's household. See, it's all about family, right? And the people that are part of your household, your job is to nourish them. When you ask the question, why did I get married? Part of the answer should be to nourish somebody as well as to receive nourishment from somebody. But the person who's going to have responsibility to nourish you is not going to be your neighbor, your friend. It's going to be your spouse. It's not going to be somebody else's children. It's going to be your children. It's not going to be somebody else's mother or father. It's going to be your parents. That's who's responsible for the nourishment. And the father's household with bread according to their families. So this was done according to family. And see, that's what's something that we need to get into our head is it's about family. We must take care of family. So many of us are so quick to disown family. And regardless of what the reason you may have had, the difference that you may have had with your family member, these brothers just tried to kill Joseph. These brothers were going to sell their brother, and in return, he ended up getting kidnapped anyway. These brothers was not on good terms with their brother, but that did not stop Joseph from doing something good for his family. Y'all got to listen to me for a moment. Y'all got to meditate on that for a moment. You know, there's a brother, a biological brother, and a sister right now that don't get along because they have difference of opinion on something. There's a biological sister and her sister that don't get along. A brother and his brother that don't get along, that are in two different paths. But the question is, do they understand that they're family? And that despite their disagreement, despite their lack of empathy and love for one another, are they going to be there for each other in the time of need? When the enemy is in front of your face, when the situations are getting too tough for one to bear, is your family there? Genesis chapter 45, verse 5. See, this family was able to do for one another despite wickedness of some brothers who had that envious spirit. That didn't matter. And be mindful that marriage was the beginning of this family. That marriage with Adam and Eve was the beginning of what we get to now in the 12 tribes. That marriage between, Abraham and his wife, Isaac and his wife, Jacob and his wife, led to where we are today to be able to have the family set up to be nurtured and nourished in the time of need. Genesis 45:5. Now, therefore, be not grieved nor angry with yourselves that ye sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. A real brother, a real sibling, a real family member knows that even though you did me wrong, I still have a duty to preserve life. I still have a duty to my family. I still care enough that if I can help, I will, despite what you've done to me. See, if you really are in the spirit of what the 12 tribes was in, no matter what the disagreement is, and I think this one was pretty bad. This ranks high on the list. They wanted to kill him and sell him. You got to be able to forgive that. Joseph saw the good in the situation. He saw that God had ordered his steps. Therefore, he was able to forgive, which is a key element in our salvation, is learning how to forgive. See, that's the thing family teaches you, is how to forgive. If you can forgive your family, then you can forgive, the extended family, the brothers, who are not so immediately related to you, but still descend from the line of Jacob or Israel. See, we all end up being brothers somehow. As far as down the lineage as it goes, we still got to look back to it. And if we can forgive our blood relative right next to us, then we can then learn to forgive our long-term relative who is many times removed from our immediate household. Genesis 49, verse 1. Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together. See, that's what a father wants to see his sons do. Gather themselves together. See, we tend to break ourselves apart and go our separate ways. But as a family, we got to always know how to gather ourselves together. But we have to understand who he's telling it to. So yes, he's telling it to the sons of Jacob. He's telling it to his sons. He's telling it to the sons of Israel, because Jacob's name was changed to Israel. But when we get to verse 28, we realize that putting together this many people in a family becomes bigger than just sons. It becomes something else. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is it that their father spake unto them and blessed them. Everyone according to his blessing, he blessed them. See, the sons became tribes. See, once it became extended family, and once it became a large family, it went from father and son to father and sons to father, sons, and grandchildren, and your wives, and so on. It became tribes. All these are the tribes of Israel. See, now we're going somewhere. We're going from individual to marriage to family to tribes. We're working our way up here. We're expanding the operation here. The family is having to go by a bigger name because there's so many of us. We got to look up the definition of tribe here. We're going to go to Webster's 1828 dictionary. It says a lot of different things, but as we skip down to the right definition, tribe, a noun, it says a family, race, or series of generations descending from the same progenitor and kept distinct. As in the case of the 12 tribes of Israel, descending from the 12 sons of Jacob. A tribe is a family, but it's also a race or series of generations. So it's a very extended family that are all distinct because they come from one progenitor, excuse me. That's what a tribe is. So I need you to step back and meditate for a minute. Think about that. You call yourself the 12 tribes of Israel, but you're not about family at all. If that's the case, you're in the wrong, because tribes are about family. See, somebody needs to share this with their brother, their sister, their aunt, their uncle, their cousin, their mother, their grandparents. Because if you are from the 12 tribes of Israel, you need to be working on that family dynamic. So, give you a moment to share real quick. Yep, I'm giving you a moment. You got to take it. I know we was rolling, but now you got to take a moment to share. Y'all shared yet? Okay. So that's the definition of tribe. So everybody just shared, right? Let's see who actually said that they shared. Did I get any feedback? You know, I wasn't even looking at the commentary, but now I'm gonna look. I'm gonna see what you got. See, nobody shared it. I gotta get in the spirit, man. Gotta get in the spirit. Because if we're gonna rebuild the nation of Israel, it starts with a marriage. If we're gonna rebuild the nation of Israel, it starts with making children. Not being so selfish to say, oh, I don't want any kids. If we're gonna rebuild the nation of Israel, it starts with that extended family that you're willing to help, even despite the fact that they may have done you wrong sometime. If we're going to rebuild the nation of Israel, that means we got to be tribe-minded. Exodus 19:6. But y'all not trying to share it with your family. Exodus 19:6 says this. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and holy, and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. So this is what went to the children of Israel, that they would be a nation. The children of Israel will be a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. See, now we're getting to all the steps, right? The building blocks, right? Family, marriage creates nations. If it wasn't for a family getting together and making children and creating a tribe, there would be no nation. Children of Israel is created by the fact that a father came and made a union with a woman and created children. A couple different women. Understanding the history of our forefather and where the mothers of our forefathers was. But not only that, they stuck together and banded together and did what they had to do as a family during rough times. See, the nation of Israel equals the children of Israel. So now we look at the dictionary again, Webster's 1828. What does it say about nation? See, this has a lot to say, but when we skip down to the good part, it says nation, as its etymology imports, originally denoted a family or race of men descended from a common progenitor. A nation represents a family or race of men descended from a common progenitor. See, somebody on here right now, when they think nation, they think God bless America. When they think nation, they pulling out their Puerto Rican flag. When they think nation, they got their Jamaican flag on their car. When they think nation, they always think the country. But God says the original form of nation, as its etymology imports. See, etymology means its origin of word. Etymology is going to take you back to the original meaning and how they've changed throughout history. So nation, as its etymology imports, originally denotes a family or a race of men descended from a common progenitor, like tribe. Nation, tribe, family, all goes together. But by immigration, conquest, and intermixture of men of different families, this distinction is in most countries lost. Your intermingling has ruined the idea of what a nation is. Now we're confused. Deuteronomy 7:3 said, neither shalt thou make marriages with them, meaning the other nations. The Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Jebusites, etc. Don't make marriages with them. Thy daughter shall not give them unto his son, nor his daughter thou shalt make unto thy son. Don't allow the marriage because you then destroy the nation, is what God was, one thing he was trying to get us to understand. Verse 40 said, for they will turn thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So another thing that came out of losing, of intermingling, is losing our belief system and turning away from the Most High God and turning to the other gods that are really not gods. That diminished our nation. Genesis 17:4. Genesis 17:4. As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. This is talking about Abram. You know, Father Abraham and many sons had Father Abraham. A lot of people are descendants of Abraham, but they fail to realize that don't make them chosen. That don't make them the chosen seed. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. So Abraham was fruitful. He was productive. He created many nations through what he was doing. Making babies, right? Nations are going to come out of him. Multiple nations. And remember that nations are distinct by their progenitor, by their tribe. Genesis 25:33. Genesis 25:23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. Showing you that family, that race or series of generations can start at different points before it becomes a distinct nation. God created multiple nations out of Abraham, even though they all stem from a certain family. The fact that they became distinct in race and language, and let's go back to tribe in Webster's Dictionary, 1828 edition, and see what more is said about tribe, so we can understand what it has become. It says, a division, class, or distinct portion of people, from whatever cause that distinction may have originated. The city of Athens was divided into 10 tribes. Rome was divided into 3 tribes. Afterward, the people were distributed into 30 tribes, and afterwards 35. A number of things having certain characteristics or resemblance in common, as a tribe of plants, tribe of animals. A division, a number considered collectively. A nation of savages, a body of rude people united under one leader of government. As the tribes of the 6 nations, the Seneca tribe in America. A number of persons of any character or profession and contempt, as describing tribe. So tribes get broken off from these families because they begin to inherit these synonymous qualities that they all then carry. When God was creating nations, he did that in one way with two nations in the womb here of twins. And he lets you know that they will be distinct. He said, "And two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger." And he gave further distinctions, describing what Esau would look like, etc., given some of the characteristics and attributes. Those were distinctions that then created new nations and new tribes. Ezekiel 37 and 21. But we got to understand, though, because God did create multiple nations and wanted them distinct. But sometimes he created one nation and they ended up becoming distinct. Not by the ultimate goal, though. It says, Ezekiel 37:21, "And say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them every side and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation," because they were operating as if they were not one nation, "and land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be a king unto them, and they shall be no more two nations. They shall no more be distinct from each other. Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms and more any all. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with idols." See, the thing that made them distinct was idols. "Nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of their dwelling place, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them, so they shall be called my people, and I will be their God." See, the children of Israel were not meant to be made into multiple nations, but rather they were meant to be stayed into one. 2 Ezra 4 and 7. "And he said unto me, If I should ask how the great dwellings are in the midst of the sea, or how many springs are in the beginning of the deep, or how many springs are above the firmament, or which are the outer goings of paradise, peradventure thou wouldest say unto me, I never went down into the deep, nor as yet into hell, neither did I ever climb up into heaven. Nevertheless, now I ask thee, but only one of the fire One moment. I want to start somewhere else, actually. Second Ezra. I want to start up at Second Ezra chapter 3, verse 7. And unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way, which he transgressed. And immediately thou appointest death in him and in his generations. See, God told Adam that he should love, and he transgressed. That was the thing that then created death in all of his family, in his generations to come. And as we learn about love, and we'll go into that a little bit more in a moment, we got to understand that when we do certain things, we're not only hurting ourselves, but all of those that are part of our family, our tribe, our nation. When one hurt, we all hurt. When one suffer, we all suffer. Now some get it worse, but yet we are never going to be able to rise as a nation above the depths of our people. Verse 8, and every people walked after their own will. See, this is what happened to our people. As a family has come together, when someone goes against the will that they're supposed to go against, they then create problems within their family. and did wonderful things before thee, and despised the commandments. And again, in process of time, thou broughtest the flood upon those that dwelt in the world and destroyed them. In the process of time, after continual bad behavior, family members got destroyed. And it came to pass in every of them that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these. Nevertheless, one of them thou leftest, namely Noah with his household, of whom came all righteous men. See, Noah wasn't by himself. He had a household. He had family. And from that family came righteous men. And it happened that when they dwelt upon the earth, they began to multiply. We always have this continuous cycle of needing to be able to multiply. And had gotten them many children, and were a great people. And through our multiplication of family, we always end up becoming a great people. And they began again to be more ungodly than the first. However, with the more people we have, the more ungodly people end up on the scene. Now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them whose name was Abraham. However, as wicked as people get, God always chooses one to shine, to rise out of the dust of wickedness and into the light of righteousness. Him thou lovest, and unto him only thou showest thy will, and madest an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed. See, God said he wasn't going to forsake his seed, showing you that you got to pass that righteousness down. Because God may not deal with you a certain way, but you're going to want him to be able to deal with your kids and your kids' kids a certain way. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac thou gavest Jacob and Esau. And as for Jacob thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau. And so Jacob became a great multitude. Jacob became that great multitude that was to be discussed. Joshua 24:15. So we always notice that God is moving men to serve the Lord. And when people go off, he always gets somebody to do it. Joshua 24:15. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So when we look at that lineage of families always made it to where their house served the Lord. Then that could expand unto the tribe serving the Lord, and then that could expand to the nation serving the Lord. But we always have to remember that that's the thing. We got to serve the Lord. None of the things that we think is bad is really bad. We just got to think about how do we do it and serve the Lord. So Joshua 24:15 says that if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, okay, cool, but we're going to serve the Lord in my household. So as a husband, you should always be making sure that your house is ready to serve the Lord. It says in Sirach 30:6, he left behind an avenger against his enemies, and one that shall requite kindness to his friends. See, when Noah brought forth seed, even when he died, he then brought forth enemies. He brought forth an avenger to go up against his enemies. That's what happened with the forefathers, the prophets. They had avengers, but we gotta have avengers. We gotta make sure that we leave something to fight against the perceptions of our enemies. We got enemies that continue to put falsehood on our names, lies about our names. Well, you gotta make sure that you got somebody that can fight for you on that. That's what family is all about. Your children can be that one that avenges you if you're unable. 1 Timothy 5:14. I will therefore that the younger women marry. See, that's a good thing to happen. Bear children. That's what you need to be doing. Guide the house. You give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. That goes right back to Genesis 1:28. Proverbs 20:26. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart. If we do our job right, we're building up our families. We can train up our children to do the right thing. See, a lot of people are constantly doing the wrong thing. A lot of parents have problem children, but their training to that child was poor. And they got to admit that. Titus 2:4. That they may teach the young women to be sober. See, that's a skill that must be taught. To love their husbands, to love their children. See, everybody ain't doing that. But these are the benefits of marriage. Is to have the ability to teach someone else how to be prepared to take on the family dynamic. Can't be good with a family if you're not sober. You got to learn how to love your husband. You got to learn how to love your children. Because we don't all know how to love our children. But what is love? Let's go to 1 John 5:1. Whoso believeth that Jesus is the Christ is born of God, and everyone that loveth him, that begotteth love him, also that is begotten of him. Whoso believeth in Jesus is the Christ is born of God, and everyone that loveth him loveth him also that is begotten of him. There's a correlation here. That love and doing what Christ asked you to do go hand in hand. By this we know that we love the children of God when we love God. We know that we actually love the people of God when we show our love to God and keep his commandments. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. See, this is where we are now. We're back to a classic verse. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. Meaning we don't have a problem keeping them. See, if that's what love is. See, love is not that emotion of warm fuzziness. I want to hug and I want to kiss. Love is the obedience, the productiveness, the fruitfulness that comes by being a tribe, a family, a marriage. It says 2 John 1:6. And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment that you have been heard from the beginning. That's not a new commandment. The commandment has always been to show love for one another. But because we don't look at each other as family, because I know most of you, you'll let your child do all the wrong and still love. But let it be somebody you don't know very well. They can't get away with anything. See, through times like this, the devil has taught us not to love our family, which continuously has caused splits and separation in our nation. But if anybody wants to go contrary to the love of God, we really can't be family anyway. Because Matthew 12:50 says, for whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my mother, is my brother and sister and mother. So, yeah, spiritually, you get a connection with people that really make you family. That really make you a tribe. That really make you a nation. But had you never even had a physical family in the first place, you could not have developed into that spiritual nation or that physical nation. Had you not had family who was serious about not intermingling with the other nations, we would not have a nation. See, it was beneficial when we were separate and segregated. God wanted that from the beginning anyway. But now we got a lot of confusion of faith. And not only that, nobody, really believes what God is telling us anymore. As it said, when you mix with the other nations, you will be turned away. We read that today. So we got to understand the dynamic here, that it all starts with getting married that creates the nation. So for brothers who don't want to marry the women, you don't want a nation. Sisters who don't want to marry the men, you don't want a nation. For y'all who get in divorces because you can't work it out, that's not beneficial to the nation building. For you who have a brother or a sister that you're not willing to be helpful to and bring closer to God, that's not nation building. For you who believe, different doctrine, but because your doctrine is so different, you have hatred toward the next brother who don't believe exactly how you believe, that's not nation building. For you who believe that just because we're not in the same organization, that's destructive to a nation, because you're still a part of the nation. You're still a part of the family. You're still a part of the tribe. So you have to take consideration that you got to act like Joseph and still be ready to help. See, I don't condone sin, but I still, at the end of the day, will always have a preference for my people, regardless of what they're into, over the nations. And if we can put the differences aside and focus on the fact that we're all one family, that gives us a good starting point. Then we can work on the intricate details of what you don't do and what I do, and vice versa. See, I was talking to a family member recently. I need you to respect my house and follow the rules that I believe in from the Bible. But because I know that you didn't know that yet, I won't just dismiss you. I won't just prevent you from being in my family. As a nation, I'm going to help you. As a tribe, I'm going to help you. As a family, I'm going to help you to get that understanding as best I can. And to be an example to you by being around you. Because it's hard for you to reprove somebody if you're not in the midst of them to reprove them. See, a lot of people, just your actions alone help somebody else see the truth. But we got to see that, because the reason Adam got married was so that we could have the 12 tribes of Israel today. The reason Adam got married is so that we could actually get to the point where we're going to have dominion again. Had Adam not been willing to do that, had Noah not been willing to do that, had Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob not been willing to do that, there would be nothing to talk about in regards to nation right now. There would be no kingdom to return to, because we would be so scattered and mixed and have nothing in common to consider a nation. And that's why America's where it is now and so messed up. It's such a melting pot of no nationality here. So if we're going to stand up for Black Lives Matter, which I don't like the movement because of the fact that it's about everything but black lives, seems like. But if the real belief in Black Lives Matter, that's showing you that your nation matters. That's showing you that your tribe matters. That's showing you that your family matters. That's showing you that marriage matters. But another thing that's destructive to nation building is the LGBT movement, and the fact that it doesn't allow the progenitors to keep generating. It stops genes from generating. Now, somebody may get upset and not like it. Oh, well, Jesus is love. No, love is the keeping of the commandments, not what you consider love. So if we really care about black lives right now, we got to start acting like a family and stop being so divided. Stop being so more of an enemy to yourself than you are to the other nations, than the other nations are to us. Because some of my greatest enemies, unfortunately, are those who are probably of my own nation. Hate to say that, but that's the thought. So I had to really meditate this week, and I had to say, you know what? We are where we are. We got George Floyd. We got Ahmaud Arbery. We got people hanging from trees and all of this. But if we're really going to make it better, where does it start? If we're going to make our nation better, where does it start? It starts with marriage and honoring the marriage and showing good commitment in marriage and teaching your children the right principles. And then your extended family abides in those same principles. To the point in which we're talking about a tribe, to the point in which we're talking about a nation. That's what it's all about. Marriage creates nations. And once we rebuild the family structure, we begin to rebuild the nation. For those people who you got so much of an issue with your spouse that you can't get along and you can't aid in the building of the nation, just understand that we're not going forward with that divorce. We're not going forward with that argument and disagreement as a nation. And sometimes the sacrifice that we got to make, being for our nation, is great, but it's valuable. So my prayer is that somebody is able to meditate on this and say, you know what, it's bigger than me. You know what? My nation depends on my ability to uphold a family structure and unit. Because if everybody becomes a better family, that benefits the nation. That's why we're rebuilding the community one family at a time. You know, within the true spirit of Christ, that is the mantra. That's what Christ is all about. Individual minds don't build nations. Families build nations. So that's Midweek Meditations for today. And I want to shout out to those of you who joined in and hit that share button. I want to shout out to those of you who have been faithfully coming in every week and giving us the opportunity to come together and talk a little bit about it. This is why we get married, to build a nation, right? No, it ain't about sex. No, it's not because she make enough money or he make enough money. It's about that nation building. I want to make sure that we're a nation that comes back into power under Christ. And though I know that the prophecy is going to be fulfilled with or without me, I definitely want to be a part of that. So I'm going to do what I can to make my marriage better, to build my nation better. And I hope that you'll do the same too. So that's Midweek Meditations for this week. You know, go to midweekmeditations.com and catch up on everything. That's where all the previous meditations are easily found, and so you don't have to scroll through. You know, I get a lot of people ask me, well, I can't find the video on Facebook. Well, go to midweekmeditations.com. I created it because I already knew Facebook was not conducive to a multitude of videos being easily accessible. We got them on YouTube. We got them on Periscope. We got them on the website. So with that, I'm going to let you go. I pray that you're in the spirit. I pray that you're ready to build a nation. I pray that you understand that the only way we can do that is to build a stronger family unit. I pray that you understand that the only way to do that is to, put your differences aside and be that brother to somebody, be that sister to somebody, be that spouse to somebody, be a helpmeet. Sister, help your husband, don't hinder. Oh my gosh, there's so many of, and I said gosh, I didn't, somebody will say don't use the Lord's name in vain. No, I said, oh my gosh. But there are so many people who, their marriage is just full of foolishness, and they create so many problems, and they're so not beneficial to the other person. Change that. So with that, I'm out. Midweek Meditations. Y'all hit the share button. Tell your brother, tell your sister, tell your mother that you are hindering the nation because your family structure is jacked up. You need to fix that. With that, I say shalom.